Hi, everybody. This is Mark Lane from Classic Hits 92.5 KVPI. And we want to welcome Don Brewer of the group Grand Funk Railroad, the American band. Don, thanks for joining us right here on 92.5.
Morning. It's a beautiful morning here in Indianapolis, Indiana, where we're playing tonight. And, greetings.
Great. Don, you and the band will be coming to our area down here in Cajun Country at Paragon Casino Friday, September 28th at 8. It should be a fantastic show.
Looking forward to it. We've been down in that part of the country before. I think we played there before at that facility. I think it's terrific.
Great. On a personal note, I got to tell you, Don, one of the first albums I ever bought while I was still in high school was your live album back around 69 or 70. I still have that album.
The live album. Yeah, I mean, boy, that's we were pumped up with adrenaline back then, man. I'm telling you.
We want to invite your fans to visit your official website, grandfunkrailroad.com. It's got the tour dates. It's got fantastic pictures, a store full of available merchandise, so check that out. Don, I got to ask you, what does it feel like when you get on the stage, like you're going to be doing tonight in Indy, and that spotlight comes on at the start of one of your shows? What comes through your mind?
You know, I always look at the audience, and I'm amazed at how many people are out there with the big smiling faces, you know, and now we've got a situation where grandparents bring their grandkids, you know, and parents bring their kids, you know, and they want to all share the Grand Funk experience, and that's really, you know, that's really what it's like. I mean, I never get over the fact that we do some kind of wonderful, and I'm your captain closer to home, locomotion. We're an American band, and you see everybody from all age groups singing along. You know, they all know the words to the songs. You know, it's pretty cool.
Oh, that was going to be my next question. I was going to ask you if you're seeing different generations of fans coming to your shows, and you're seeing that, huh?
Oh, absolutely. You know, and it's, you know, and it really, you know, it really is a thrill, you know, to see that, to see the eyes light up and the smiles on the faces. You know, it's just, there's nothing like it.
When you started out in your hometown in the Flint area of Michigan, did you have any idea that you'd still be going strong all these many years later?
Oh, no. I mean, you know, when you're 18, 19 years old, you know, you don't see much past the year 40 years old, you know, so, you know, no, I never dreamed. I mean, I certainly wanted it, you know, and it was, you know, it was amazing when we were selling out stadium and playing a baseball stadium in Tokyo, Japan, and, you know, I mean, those were just amazing experiences, but to think, you know, back then that I'd have grandkids and I'd still be doing this, no, I never dreamed it.
When you started out back in Michigan, who were some of your musical influences that you really wanted to get into the music business?
Well, you know, we grew up in Flint, which is just outside Detroit. So Motown was a huge influence, you know, and all the R&B stuff, Wilson Pickett and Otis Redding and Aretha Franklin and all that stuff. That was a big influence on us. And then, you know, when the Beatles came in and the Rolling Stones and the English Invasion, you know, that started being an influence on us. And of course, when Jimi Hendrix and Cream and those trios, those big power trios started happening, that's when we formed Grand Funk. You know, we were kind of trying to go for that wave of that situation, you know, so those were really our influences.
And I'm sure the next question I'm going to ask you, Don, you've probably been asked 1,000 times, but where did you guys get the name Grand Funk Railroad? Where did it all start?
Well, it's a Michigan thing, you know. In Michigan, as we were growing up, you know, every time you came to a railroad crossing, you know, and had to sit and watch the train go by, Grand Trunk and Western Railroad was the railroad in Michigan. You know, so you'd watch these railroad cars go by, Grand Trunk and Western, Grand Trunk and Western. And when, you know, in the late 60s, the term funk for music came along. And so we did a play on words and, you know, changed Grand Trunk to Grand Funk. And, of course, you know, back then it was risque. You know, everybody thought we were saying the other four-letter words, you know. So, what did you say? You know, so it got a lot of attention, you know. But it was very descriptive of where we were from, as well as being a big, powerful sounding name.
Well, you're the writer and the lead singer for the band's biggest hit, the #1 smash, We're an American Band. I want to ask you if you could share with our listeners, Don, what's the story or the inspiration behind you writing that song?
Well, we were coming out of radio making a major change in 1972 from being FM underground to the hit format. Everything had to now be, instead of being 7 minutes long, it had to be 3 minutes long, and it had to be a commercial sounding record, that kind of a thing. That was going on, as well as we had separated from our former manager and a couple of attorneys that had taken all of our money, and we were, in a broke situation, and we needed to come up with hit records. So I took a stab at writing a hit song, and as we're flying into all of these towns we're playing on this tour, the thought came to my mind, we're coming to your town, we'll help you party it down. And that's really what I wrote the song around, and then I came up with the lyrics about up all night playing poker with Freddie King, and 4 young Chiquitas in Omaha, and Sweet Sweet Connie in Little Rock, and put all my little stories together. And the final thing was the tag, We're an American Band, and it just sounded good to sing it. So that's where the record came from. It was a need and an extreme desire to have a hit record.
And so basically, some of so they were true life experiences in some of those different towns.
Oh, absolutely. The 4 young Chiquitas in Omaha.
Yeah.
But of course, the famous Connie, Sweet Sweet Connie in Little Rock, and playing poker with
Freddie King.
All of that stuff was true for sure.
Another huge hit that you're responsible, and one of my favorites is "Walk Like a Man." Any story behind that one?
Well, really, it was just kind of a continuation of that. I don't know, hormone-driven teen kind of a thing. I'm going to walk like a man, strut like a cock until I'm 99. Just bold and going for it. And that's really what it was.
My personal favorite song out of all the songs that you guys are responsible for, and I really got sold on it from that live album, I'm Your Captain, Closer to Home. Any story behind that song?
Well, it's just a great song. Mark Farner, just outdid himself when he came up with that, and I never will forget when he first brought it into rehearsal. We were rehearsing in the local 542 Flint Musicians Union Hall because we would rehearse there all the time for all of our stuff, and we were the only band they would let rehearse there because we used to clean up after ourselves. And Mark brought the song in, and we were jamming the song for a couple of days. The "I'm Your Captain" part, and we really couldn't come up with an ending for the song. We really didn't know where it was going to go until one day we just fell into this half jam kind of a thing, and Mark started singing the lyric, "I'm getting closer to my home," and that we put the two pieces together, and it's just magical. And then our former manager, Terry Knight, and producer, came up with the idea of putting an orchestra on the end of it. So we brought in an arranger to write those orchestra parts, and got the Cleveland Philharmonic to play on the end of it. So it's just an amazing piece.
And I bet we could sit here for hours telling us about all the different highlights in your career. But one that I want you to share with our listeners, Don, it has to be when you guys sold out Shea Stadium. That had to be an experience.
Oh, it was, pinch me, is this real? Certainly, going into New York, we were huge in New York at the time. New York City was kind of like our second home. We played the Fillmore, and we played the Capitol Theater in Passaic, New Jersey, and it was kind of, we were an up and coming band, and when that album came out, Closer to Home, we took out a block long billboard in Times Square, and so our 3 faces were on this block long billboard for about a month in Times Square, and so we were kind of the toast of the town in New York City.
We're talking 3 guys. There were only 3 members of your band back then.
Yeah. And we sold out Shea Stadium faster than the Beatles. They put the tickets on, and they were gone within a day, and so it was just, it was truly an amazing experience, and to fly in over Shea Stadium, in helicopters as Humble Pie was our opening act, and Humble Pie was on stage, and we're in the helicopters, circling over a sold-out Shea Stadium with Humble Pie on stage, and it was like, a rock and roll fantasy. It really was.
Unbelievable. You guys have been one of the most successful bands for more than 45 years, and you guys are still going strong. How many dates are you doing a year, about, Don?
About 45 we do now, which is plenty for us. We're kind of weekend warriors. We'll go out on the weekends and play, and then go home during the week. And it works out really well that way. I mean, it's nothing like the old days when we used to do 40 shows in 40 days. But certainly it's plenty for us now.
Don, any advice you would like to give to young musicians listening to our radio station that they're just starting out in the music business?
Well, you really got to have a thick skin. Everybody's going to tell you, no, you can't do it, and you have to be convinced that you can do it, and you have to dedicate your life to it. So that's my first bit of advice, and my second bit of advice is trust no one.
I've heard so many, I've done a lot of interviews, Don, and it's amazing how many people, how many well-known musicians like you guys have been really burned through the years. You've just been taken advantage of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's as prevalent now as it used to be. When we were coming up in the late 60s, the early 70s, it was kind of the Wild West out there, and even the laws and the courts and all of that stuff was kind of rigged in the favor of the managers and the agents and the record companies. And then as we got into the 80s and the 90s, it became evident that the artists were the ones that were in control, and they were able to land much better contracts and get all of the laws turned around. And so I don't think it's been anywhere near as bad. But yeah, you go back to the 60s and 70s, and it was certainly the Wild West.
One more thing, when you're not on the road, I understand your publicist was sharing with me that you are involved with animal rescue. Let's talk a little bit about that, Don.
Yeah, my wife and I are both involved with a place in Jupiter, Florida. That's where we live, called Safe Harbor, which is a no-kill animal rescue facility, and we have been for 30 plus years. And it's just we just have an extreme fondness for animals, and I would recommend to anybody that any living anywhere is to support your local animal rescue shelter. They need your help.
Do you have a lot of pets at your house?
Well, right now we have 3 cats. We usually have about 4 cats and 2 dogs.
Uh-huh.
And my wife has 3 horses. So yeah, that's our that's our menagerie right now.
Do you have members of your family, any kids, grandkids that are looking to get into the music or in the music business?
Not in the music business. No, it's they've kind of all gone up into the business world.
I see. Oh, great. Well, listen, I want to thank you for taking time from your busy schedule to be with us, Don Brewer, drummer for Grand Funk Railroad, and we're all looking forward to the big show Friday, September 28th at Paragon Casino. And it's going to be a great show, Don.
Sounds good. Thank you.